We will move on to our last audience question, and this is directed at Mr. Ketto and Mr. Eggy. What will you do to ensure that students are informed about key issues and to ensure that students have an input on campus upgrades and remodels?
I think that's an important, again, going back to the transparency and communication aspects of our campaign. ASMSU is already in a position to communicate with students. We have the exponent, we have KGLT. These are two effective forms that we could be using a lot more effectively. I think just a simple weekly article in the exponent about keeping people up to date on what Senate's doing, what ASMSU is doing. A letter from the president once in a while, just to keep us out there and involved with students. KGLT the same way. Pardon me. KGLT the same way. I could envision a weekly radio address to better communicate with students. I think student control of the listserv. I know currently that's the vice president of student affairs. Thank you. The vice president of student affairs, and sometimes we have to go in there and beg to get things sent over the listserv because they don't want to cram it full of junk mail, and I understand that, but I think there is a lot of room for communication by email and some of these technology things that Mark has mentioned. I think that's a great way to begin communicating with students. What was the second part of the question?
What will you do to ensure that students are informed about key issues and to ensure students have an input on campus upgrades and remodels?
And that's another key component of our campaign, that we insist that students must be actively involved in every decision that's made on campus, such as the MyPortal decision. There were students involved, but it was not legitimate active student involvement. If there was legitimate active student involvement in there, I think that we might have a better portal system available to us today. And that starts with a strong administration with ASMSU, the president and vice president, to be aware of what's going on within the broader campus community and appointing people to sit on those committees. There's often a student chair on those committees that sits vacant, but appointing the right person to sit on those committees to report back to ASMSU to eventually include that information that goes back to the Senate.
Would you like a chance to rebut?
Yeah. All right, so how do we get students informed? How many of you have put Kathy Byers' email on like the junk mail list? Anyone? Okay, so a year ago, ASMSU office obtained permission to have a listserv for the MSU students, and you've been seeing things like the Rail Jam, big events coming up through the Leadership Institute, things that students will be able to see who have deleted maybe some of the other emails that have access to that listserv. Also, we just barely unleashed a new ASMSU website that Mateo Jara, he's one of our senators, has created, and it's got all sorts of awesome opportunities for forums online, updates on current issues, so anyone can go into the ASMSU website and say, I have a question for such and such a senator, and it's just all filtered electronically, and there's no one who's left out in the loop. And the big thing is that even if you have transparency, efficiency, if you can't get that information out to the students, then it's not going to help you any. So with that MSU website, we'll be able to do that.
I think that some of these things we've touched on have been, like email and things are kind of a passive way of communicating with students. And again, it goes back to empowering students. I think if we can get students interested, then communication is clearly a part of that. But it's a two-way street. We need to communicate more effectively with students, and we need to be open to student communication with us, with the administration, with Senate. And in the past, I don't know if that's always been done, especially from the Senate side. And I think the more often that we listen to those student communications that are coming toward us and begin to address issues that are of importance to students that are brought to Senate, that Senate may not be aware of at all, I think that will empower students to search us out and to come find us and talk to us about the issues. The other thing is that we can't just sit back and wait for students to come to us and say, oh, they'll find ASMSU when we need us. We need to be out there and actively talking. We've been campaigning door to door, Mark and I. And I think that really helps just to raise the visibility and the awareness. And I think something like that where we can actually be interacting with students on a personal level, face to face, that's really going to improve the communication. And we'd also be open to ideas on this because it is a problem and it is something we want to work on.
Great. And now we will finish up with our closing statements. Each team will have 1 minute, and we'll begin with Shane and Mike.
First of all, I'd just like to thank the Leadership Institute and Carmen McSpan for organizing this event for however many years it has been going on, more than I can probably count. Obviously, it's a great way for us to get our voice out to you guys. Thank you all for coming. I just want to, press again that we will, as a team, continue to strengthen the committees and the new committee structure that we have just provided ASMSU to provide more services and more efficiently and more cost effectively to every student so we can stretch that student dollar to the max. Also, with this possibility of the student regent, The synergy there is it's absolutely incredible. We can really get stuff done, especially with tuition, and help bring those tuition rates down. Shane and I pay tuition just like you guys, and we know it's high. As well, I would just like to congratulate Shane for here in a few hours. He'll be leaving and representing our great university here in Seattle for a prestigious Truman Scholarship. And congratulations to Shane, and I know he will do his best to represent Montana State University to his fullest.
All right, thank you. And now our other closing statement.
Well, thank you both. It's been a privilege to face such accomplished and qualified candidates. And again, Shane, congratulations on your distinction for being a Truman finalist. I think what's been made clear here today is that Dave and I have different priorities, and we think that they're priorities that may represent more students across campus. And that priority starts with improving ASMSU from within, and that starts with communication. We think that ASMSU has something of an attitude problem, that instead of we come to you, we actively promote ourselves and let you know what we're doing. The attitude seems to be, if you want to know, you can come to us. You can come find us on Thursday night. And that's something that we want to change. Another thing is we want to see ASMSU become a leader in sustainability on campus, pushing pressure to turn off the lights in the library, turn off the lights in the HPE Center, turn off computers at night when they're not being used, make MSU more sustainable. Thanks for being here, everyone. Thank you to the Leadership Institute. And let me encourage each and every one of you to vote. Tell your friends to vote this Wednesday and Thursday. We think it's important. The more students that get out and vote, regardless of who you vote for, the more power that ASMSU has to provide the services and entertainment that it does and to represent your interests as students. Thank you.
Well, thank you all for coming. Let's give our candidates a round of applause.